I'm Egbert, the owner of this station. Check out my website at egbert.com. That's EGGBURT, egbert.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
John, I know everybody's talking about this, but I guess we should weigh in with our opinions as well, too. The whole situation Saturday, late afternoon, early evening, whichever way you look at it, when the shots rang out in Pennsylvania. What a crazy situation. I mean, and it's still unfolding as far as all the narratives, as far as the various peoples, things like that. Do you know who Selena Zito is?
Selena Zito? No, I don't.
Selena Zito is a reporter. She works for the Washington Examiner. She's gotten to be a very high-profile national reporter. She's on, believe it or not, she's on Mark Reardon's show a lot. And very interesting story. She got the very first interview, I guess it was maybe yesterday morning, with Donald Trump. And the interesting part of it was there's pictures of her, and I've seen this because I thought to myself, I know who that woman is. And sure enough, then I saw this article. Selena Zito was picked to do an interview with Donald Trump on the flight back from Pennsylvania, and he went back to his place, New Jersey, Bedford, New Jersey, whatever that was. And she was supposed to fly back with Trump from the rally. And she was, I believe she might have been up on stage, because the picture of her is with a Secret Service agent laying on top of her and her daughter. Because her daughter,
oh, wow.
Our daughter is a photojournalist. So she was very, very, very close in proximity to Trump. And when the shots rang out, apparently this Secret Service agent, I guess he might have been assigned to, literally cover her, pardon the pun. But anyway, she's the first, she interviewed him on the phone and said that this has totally changed how the campaign narrative is going. Now, the other interesting thing is I've read 2 or 3 different articles that talks about how the Democrats are now, we're not talking about replacing Biden anymore. Is this unbelievable or what?
Yeah, now, are you suggesting that those two things are, that the latter is because of the assassination attempt?
Oh, yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
And why is that?
Well, I mean, first off, okay, once again, Brad the news nerd, okay? I listened to Biden's White House little narrative he did on, I guess it was Saturday evening, and I listened to what he said, and I thought to myself, okay, this is like the old Joe Biden. He's pretty darn good. And then when he did his thing yesterday, once again from the Oval Office, or I can't remember which one was from the Oval Office. Was that yesterday? I can't remember. It all runs together. I'm thinking to myself, man, he's got it back together again. So,
and what time of day was it?
Well, the thing on Saturday night was in the evening. Now, here's my, once again, nobody listens to me. Nobody gives a poop about what I say. But this is what bothers me. The big bother I have with Joe Biden. Stay in the damn White House. Once again, it's your job. You're the president. That's the center of government, not Rehoboth, Delaware, or whatever the hell he hangs out at. And the deal was he was at Delaware for the weekend. And, and they because apparently he was at a Saturday evening mass when he was notified that the assassination attempt had been perpetrated upon Trump. And then they said, well, he's going back to the White House. Stay in the damned White House. John, if all of a sudden something happened where what's that there was that TV show about whenever they have like the State of the Union address, there's like the designated survivor, I'm talking about, because
I know what you're talking about.
When we have the State of the Union address, the president, the vice president, all the cabinet members, the senators.
One person has to be sequestered to maintain the continuity of government. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. If that were you, and all of a sudden you're the president, could they pry you out of the White House? Wouldn't you go like, whoa, my God, look, I'm living in the White House. I got free food 24/7. If I want a pizza at 2 o'clock in the morning, I just ask. If I want to go somewhere, they bring a helicopter that lands outside my residence. And if I want to go somewhere far away, the helicopter takes me to a 747 where I got a bed.
2 things. First of all, I don't know if there's a helipad outside Klondike Park for me. Secondly, you're going to be super annoyed by the fact that Biden's going to be on the campaign trail. And even if it's only a few hours a day, starting pretty soon, Brad, he's never going to be at the White House.
But see, See, this is my complaint. And I made my complaint earlier about the radio business, okay? We live in a society now where there are two time periods. There's Monday through Friday, and in some cases, with the educators who want to make that Monday through Thursday, but most people, we have 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. That's one category, and then we have the weekend. So in other words, and interesting thing to the point where I'm a nerd about this, a lot of our websites and stuff like that. I look at the analytics. Do you ever look at the analytics on your website, John?
No.
Oh, you never look at the analytics?
Nope.
Never. Okay. You will see something very interesting on almost every website. You'll see peak usage Monday through Friday, Saturday, Sunday trails off. Monday it's back. That's almost on every single website. Obviously, some more than others. Okay, we live in this life where everybody has weekends off. I shouldn't say everybody, but most people have weekends off. And now to the point where people don't even want to go to work anymore. I read something, I heard this last week. They said, and it was just like a headline, I'm trying to find the story, I never could find it. They said that the two tallest buildings in Clayton are on the block. They're up for sale. Now, I think the two tallest buildings, if I'm not mistaken, are the Sevens building, the 7777 Bonham, which is sort of funny because that's not actually the real address.
You were on your fourth interruption of yourself, Brad. Go ahead.
Okay. What did I say now?
You were making a point about weekly stats. Let's get back to that, and then we could talk about your history with the Sevens building.
Well, okay. Well, but let me just know that's part of what I was saying. Okay. They're saying that the two tallest buildings in Clayton only have 30 to 40% occupancy now. Okay. Now, once again, why is that? Because nobody wants to go to work anymore. Everybody wants to sit at home. The Centene buildings that, they tore down half of Clayton to build Centene along, what is that, Forsyth, I guess it is?
Oh, yeah.
And now a friend of mine told me that actually works at Centene, told me that the buildings are 90 to 95% empty all the time. Okay? Once again, lazy. I've got a promo that runs in the station that is Gary V, who talks about the fact that this is the decline of the Roman Empire because of the fact that everybody's just, everybody doesn't, everybody wants their life. They want to live their life. They don't want to be bothered. They want to have their, they don't want to go to work, and everybody's lazy anymore, and nobody wants to build anything. And Mike Rowe talks about the fact that nobody wants to get dirty or sweaty by fixing air conditioners and stuff like that. Everybody wants to sit in their house, have a job where they're on the internet 24 hours a day. Well, not 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I think it's sad. And once again, I hear what you're saying that that Biden's going to be traveling all over the place. But once again, weekends in Delaware, almost every single weekend in Delaware, almost every single weekend. I mean, come on, dude, work the damn job. I mean, when you dial 911. You don't get if you dial 911 Saturday afternoon, you don't get to say, I'm sorry, but we have limited resources on the weekend. Please call back on Monday morning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do get what you're saying. And I presume that somebody was able to contact him on Saturday. And I think that's where you were originally going, right?
Contact who on Saturday?
Contact Biden on Saturday to let him know. I think that was your original point at the beginning of this, right?
He was at church in Delaware, okay? Once again, I live in a terrible place. Okay, I really do. I have a crappy place where I live, okay? You give me like a room, a closet at the White House, I'm tickled pink. I mean, you put me in a closet at the White House, I'm like, man, my life's, I can call my friends, hey, guess what? I live in the White House now. We're part of the White House. Well, it's broom closet 5206, but I live in the White House.
Yeah. Now, have you ever thought of living right at a radio transmitter site, Brad? Like inside, I don't know, a trailer? Have you ever thought of just taking up residence there? You could vote. That could be your voting thing. You could probably have it zoned for human residents, right?
John, over the weekend, I made a comment to someone, and it was sort of funny because I went on the air this morning. Before I went on the air this morning, I did a little research. I said I would love to live in Kinloch, and this person went,
"Love to live in where?"
Kinloch.
Oh, Kinloch, yeah.
Okay.
What a beautiful town.
Now, what's interesting is when I go to Zillow, or if I go to Realtor.com and I search the area for homes for sale in Kinloch, you know what comes up?
A link to 911.
Zero homes for sale. Okay, it's like just last week. Don't ask me why I was looking at this. Just last week, I was looking at Google satellite view of around the airport. I was trying to figure out, because once again, this is the aviation and nerd in me. I was trying to figure out. I heard a friend of mine told me about something that happened out there on one of the taxiways. I'm going, okay, which taxiway is that? So I looked at this Google, satellite view of the airport, and then I looked off to the west of the airport. And you and I have talked about this before. The subdivision streets are still all there in Carrollton, but there's no houses. And I'm thinking to myself, how sad is this?
Yeah.
They talk about the homeless situation. Okay, how many houses, instead of bulldozing all the houses down in Carrollton, in Bridgeton, where Carrollton is a big subdivision of Bridgeton, instead of bulldozing them all down, put the homeless people in there. No, we got to bulldoze them down. Why? Well, it's noise. Okay, it's noise. There's a lot of places that are noise. Matter of fact, my son, who lives down in South City right now, okay, and me driving him around lately with doctor visits and stuff like that. You come north in 55. I don't know exactly where, but there are 3 houses along 55 that I am not exaggerating, that from the back porch of these houses to the shoulder of 55, it's probably 15 feet. I mean, these houses are literally up against. You could sit on the back porch of a couple of these houses, and you could take an empty beer can, and flick it with your finger and go over the fence and hit a car on the interstate. They're that close.
I was just going to actually suggest that you could finish your empty while you're driving and throw it into the yard, but you went the other direction with that.
The other direction. And I bet you there's junk that flies off the highway into their backyard. Okay. The noise level in those houses has to be effing believable. You know what I mean? Especially when on the weekends when the Harley boys are out with their straight pipes, or you get the hot rod boys who drive up and down 55 with straight pipe exhaust systems, or when the tractor trailers come. I mean, okay, what's the difference there? How come those people can live in those houses, and when there's noisy, crazy stuff like that? There's a thing I was listening to. Where was this over the weekend? They were talking about. God, I should keep better notes on this. And here we go again. There's this whole narrative now that's come out about how the interstate highway system is racially biased. Do you know this crazy story?
Oh, yeah. We've talked about it at length on this show.
Right. And where was it? What city was it in? Where they're talking about they've gotten all this money where they're going to take out one of the interstates in this city and they're going to put in a boulevard. And that's going to change things. Now,
oh, that's not. Will they have basketball hoops?
Here's the interesting thing. The interstate system, a lot of people don't realize this, but the interstate system, there's a sign out there in 70 in St. Charles. The interstate system started in St. Charles. The very first section of Interstate 70, and matter of fact, the entire interstate system was built in St. Charles, okay? Interstate 70 was one of the very first interstates, okay? They talk about the fact that in St. Louis, when they put the interstate through, it took out all these areas in North City where the black people lived. Well, I got news for you. That's where my mom and dad lived, and that's where my grandma and grandpa lived. Matter of fact, I remember as a little boy, my grandmother's, she lived in an apartment building, on the second floor of an apartment building. As a little boy, I remember going over to her house, probably when I was, 4 or 5 years old, going to her apartment, watching them build Interstate 70. Now, once again, at that point in time, North City, predominantly white. I mean, it was almost predominant. Matter of fact,
it was really nice.
We talked about Mike Kehoe. Mike Kehoe talked about the fact that he was born in North City, born and lived in North City, right?
Yeah, I think most if you're in suburban St. Louis now, your grandparents probably lived in North City at one point, or maybe they lived on the hill. But plenty of white people lived in North City.
Well, but they say, well, I-70, look what it did in St. Louis. It took away. Here's my complaint. You want to hear a complaint about me?
I do want to hear a complaint.
Go back and look at pictures after World War II of the St. Louis riverfront. Do you know what you see?
No.
Houses, businesses. Guess what? They're all gone. Because you know why?
Why?
They tore them down for the arch. There was a whole...
Oh, yeah. You've talked about this before, Brad. The destruction of that beautiful area for a national monument.
There was a whole neighborhood. There were businesses, a lot of businesses right there in the riverfront. There were people that have, houses, apartment buildings, things like that. That entire area was just bulldozed over. Once again, and they talk about eminent domain. See, this is one of my little buzz things. Okay, you know how you fix the eminent domain loss?
How's that?
10 times fair market value.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's fair.
So in other words, if the highway department comes along, we want to widen the highway, we're going to take your house. Okay, fine. My house is worth $100,000. $1 million, I'm out of here. Right? That's how you fix it, because who's going to turn down 10 times fair market value? But of course, no, we can't do that. We've got to do things like, spend money for charging stations. We spent what was the number? $4 billion for charging stations. They built 8 of them.
Yeah, which is a pretty good deal long term, probably, don't you think, Brad? I think that you should start an anti-parks group after you're done with the Westplex thing, because as we talked about on Friday, you don't have enough projects going on, Brad. So your next thing that you start next week should be an anti-parks initiative, and it would allow you to finally have a little bit of friction with your friend Steve Ellman, because I feel like you've been a little too friendly with him lately. You guys are on the same side of the whole policing and Westplex thing. So just start an anti-parks group. And I bet you could get funding from, well, nobody, but it would be another fun project to start, Brad.
But John, you're sort of, that's, by the way, John, a friend of mine kept score on Friday, and it was John 462 and Brad 0 as far as
I'm not one to run up the score, Brad.
As the number of and John kept saying his favorite thing, scoreboard. That's what John kept saying, right?
I didn't say that on Friday, but you're right. That's usually one of my favorite things.
Right, scoreboard. Okay, so John's making fun of the fact that I say that, but here's a perfect example. Okay, in the Westplex. Okay, why do we need a water park for St. Peter's, a water park for St. Charles, a water park for Wentzville? Can't we have one central water park, or can't we just put everybody on a bus and send them down to Six Flags? You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely not. Because if I am a leader in St. Peter's, I want to have my name on that park in 20 years, and I want to say that it's the Wapple Horse Park. And it's named after me, and it's named after my buddies, and I got the funding for it. And sure, maybe I'm the St. Peter's mayor, and I ended up going to jail. But guess what? We have our own park, and we don't need those stinky people from O'Fallon or, God forbid, unincorporated St. Charles taking their little kids and their stupid little floaty Band-Aids and their unshowered feet into our pool here in St. Peter's, Brad. We have our own pool.
John, you didn't say anything about dropping red hot riblets into the pool.
Or flaming hot Cheetos. We could have some of those, too. You got Brad Hildebrand coming over with his Baconator wrapper. He's a Mike Hamra supporter, so he spends a lot of time at Wendy's, which I don't think Crystal Quade did a year ago, but apparently she's not. Well, I think a year ago she was probably eating a lot of salads. I don't know. It gets late at the Capitol. You might want to eat Baconators, Brad. Are you a Baconator guy?
My son is. I'm not into Baconators.
Can you imagine putting one of those in your body? Can you imagine thinking it's healthy to eat a Baconator?
Well, I don't think when you eat something like that, you care if it's healthy or not.
I guess not. I guess it's late at night and you're at the Capitol and you're like, well, I'll be on the campaign trail next week. I'll walk this off.
But see, John, once again, don't go there with me, because I'm the fast food diet guy. Here we go. John's throwing down the gauntlet. How about if I eat Baconators for a month and see how much weight I lose? How about that, John?
I'm determined, Brad. For you, I just said you should start another project that you could do for a few weeks and then quit. Why don't you start the Little Mick Baconator website and do that for a couple days?
Well, first off, Mick is McDonald's and Baconator is Wendy's. So
I know, but you could eat McDonald's in the morning, and you have several website gimmicks that you did for a little while that were eating one thing in the morning, one thing at lunch, and one thing at night, right?
I did for a while because I was successful. I set goals, and I met the goals. I
love that. That's and you know what? Your whole point is calories in versus calories out.
That's
and
if
more people subscribe to that, they wouldn't walk around taking up way too much space in the Walmart aisle. They wouldn't even need to get on an obesity scooter at Six Flags and get in my way.
John.
You know that obesity scooters have hoods on them now, Brad? I don't mean like KKK hoods, but I mean obesity scooters have these like tarps over the top of it so that if you're going past a fat person, you don't smell bacon sizzling in the summer sun. I think it's the greatest thing for obesity scooters since Medicare paid for them.
I don't even know where to start from all of the things that have been said that are just wrong.
Thank you, Emmy.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?